with three guys from Signify. Here in the studio with me is Dennis van Dijk, Kai Rauwerdink, and Erik Stappers. Welcome to you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, Dennis, we're talking about putting the customer at the center here. We're talking about an innovative way of consulting, working together, coming up with the right recipe, if you like, for lighting.
That's correct.
And this is a way really of forwarding the whole horticultural production, particularly for indoor farming, of course. Is that the context of what we're talking about?
Yeah, pretty much. What we do see is that the market of Horti-LED is maturing. We see the demand is increasing. We see that in different crops, different countries, different applications. We also see a lot of new players in the field, which we consider that's good. It's good for the market, it's good for the environment. We, as an industry, we start using less energy. And it's good for us as market leader. I think they will challenge us to improve our performance. We also see that with these new players in the market, we see that it's difficult for customers who want to get into the market, that it's difficult for them to have all the questions to be answered.
They don't have the experience and the expertise, perhaps, of someone who's been in the industry for some time.
Correct. Well, actually, there's no standardization in the market yet.
Okay. Now, we're all about putting the customer right at the center of this approach. So shall we hear from the customer and show a quick video?
Sounds good to me.
Okay, let's let it roll. Nice one.
С нами он реально нам помогает. Он помогает и делать установки климата, и выставлять поливы, и влияние на солнце, и все остальное. И мы видим уже результат, и нам это нравится.
More growers should be looking at this because it is the future, it's sustainable, and our customers want it.
Color is much deeper, darker, richer with LEDs. The taste is better with LEDs. So there's a lot of ways to evaluate it. It depends on what you grow and when you grow it.
Link these technical settings to the ideal seeds, substrates, and the best recipe for that particular product can be developed. We can really produce clean, healthy, and nutritious food in a resource-efficient way, exactly where the consumer needs it.
That if we wanted to build a farm that was commercially viable in a city like London where space is so important, we had to be able to grow up as well as using the space around us.
Every harvest that comes off is predictable, and that's huge. At the end of the day, it's just a high-end product that we can rely on that comes with amazing customer support, and we're absolutely thrilled to be growing with Philips.
The meaning of light, indeed, Philips, Signify, I don't think that needs explaining to people who are tuning in here right now, but really putting the customer at the center is what has led to some of these great results. And it's not just about providing wonderful technology to do so, wonderful LEDs, it's about the whole consulting environment around that. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Well, every customer is unique, and so is their need. And we really have to translate that need into the best lighting solution for that customer. And for us, a lighting solution is basically based on three things. It's based on the best business case, it's on the harmonized installation, and it is on the best support, also in growing the crop.
The magic triangle, we'll get that up on the screen here, and we'll talk about those three elements of that triangle in more detail, shall we? So are you going to introduce Kai a little bit more, and Erik?
I can do so, but let me start off with introducing the key account manager role. Basically what we do is in the triangle you can see three positions, three experts in there. One is the application engineer, the other one is the plant specialist, and the key account manager. Most of the time that key account manager is that first contact for the grower. And basically what he does for the grower, he's with our proven TCO, which stands for total cost of ownership. We can calculate different business cases for them. And we also can use that also to convince investors to go with them in this investment. And basically that's what we do with as key account manager, also with our Horticulture partners. But maybe it's good, Kai, you can introduce the application engineer.
Sure. If you look to the journey that the grower has to make from just exploring the market towards switch on the light for the first time, the application engineers play a couple of roles. At the very early stage, we make sure that we provide credible product performance information that enables the grower and the consultant to take the right decisions and make the right choices. And somewhat later on, we prepare a couple of lighting designs where we plot in different lighting options, and the result can be used as input for the business case that the key account manager will discuss with the grower. Then let's assume that we come to a deal. Then at a certain moment, the lights needs to be installed. So we work closely together with our Horticulture partners to make sure that our grow lights seamlessly fit into the complete electrical installation. Mm-hmm. And then there is a moment that the grower switch on the light for the first time, and then we can also step in to do a project field measurement to check if what has been installed is the same as what we have designed in our lighting design. So there we close basically the circle, and that's where we are active.
That's where you're active in closing that circle indeed, and it all takes a lot of ideas as to how you are going to get the perfect recipe for the plant and the crop which you want to grow. And this is where Erik comes in, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Well, as a plant specialist, the main task is to develop these recipes, and basically that's a dual task. First of all, that's the more fundamental scientific part where we work together with the universities and actually one of our 27 recipe partners. That's the research part. And the second task is a more supportive task to our clients that can be either in the pre-sales part when we design the right lighting application. But I think even more important is the post-sales part where we consult and support the growers in getting the best out of their lighting installation.
And a lot of these growers do not necessarily, as we said, have decades and decades of experience in the sector, but they do have quite often the power of digitalization, I assume at least, and so they have a lot of data which can be provided. Maybe also when it comes to lighting and to help you as well get the engineering correct. Is that an accurate picture?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So we need some input for our discussions. So that's basically where we start the discussion. That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So using the power of digitalization. So there, it doesn't even mean that you have to necessarily be on site with the customer.
For the plant specialist, no. If we can get the remote access to his data, to his climate computer data, then we can do our job already quite accurate. Yes.
Good. So even when the site restrictions don't allow you to visit, you can actually get in there and work out a good concept for them. That must be a tremendous advantage as well in terms of sales, in terms of consulting and developing the business, to not be dependent on having to necessarily go there, especially in these current times?
Well, we do miss contact with customers, to be face-to-face with customers. With the techniques there are now, we can communicate as normal with them. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, we saw lots of examples from all over the world and a great variety of different crops as well there. So tell me a little bit about the R&D elements which play in here as well. And maybe, Kai, that's your question, I think. But how does the R&D center match with what you're doing and match with what Erik is doing, and at the end of the day, come to the customer's value?
I think the R&D, there are two aspects. That's the plant-related aspect, and that's more where Erik is dealing. We try to deal more with, let's say, the technical aspects related to the product. One of the questions we often get is, how should I choose an LED supplier? There are so many. When I was at the GreenTech last year, I counted over 50 suppliers. Yeah. So how do you make a choice? Yeah. I think what's important for growers is that they figure out what is the experience of the supplier in the market, how many years are they already active, how many projects did they already successfully do in the market. You should have a look at the product design capabilities of the supplier. Is the product robust? Is the product electrical safe? Those are things you can easily check. I would challenge the supplier on the credibility of his performance and lifetime claims. Can he show evidence? Because you make a claim for 50,000 hours, why should I believe you? And I think the fourth aspect is to check if those suppliers are capable in doing a proper lighting design. Because based on the lighting design, you take your decision. And if the lighting design is much too optimistic in light level and uniformity, then you will be disappointed when the lights are switched on. So those are four, I think, important parameters to check before you start doing business with a supplier.
And from a Signify point of view, do you offer guarantees that certain performances will be reached? Longevity, you talked about the 50,000 hours and the light performance.
Yeah, normally we have a 3-year warranty, and under certain conditions we can enlarge that towards 5 years. So yes, we do. Yeah.
And at the end of the day, with the LED itself, that's just one element in the entire solution.
Correct.
Setting it all up right is extremely important to start with. What happens if the needs of the grower changes? Maybe they want to change crop or they want to do something different. How does that consultation work?
Well, what you can see is most of the time we sit down with the grower first and we ask about his long-term plans. Yeah? So if we make business cases for the grower, we don't look to the crop itself. We can look into varieties, but also in general. And most of the time we start looking into the business case from the current lighting system.
Yeah.
And from there we see what are the possibilities in light levels, in light spectra. That's highly depending on which crop he's going to grow, and also on the application, where are the lights, etc. And from there onwards we narrow down to the best solution for him, and that should be future-proof.
Future-proof indeed. Okay. So let's go to Erik and ask the research and development question, which I put to Kai before. Mm-hmm. How do you actually research those light recipes, if you like, and how does the interaction there with the customer work? Some customers themselves have their own R&D centers and operations. So do you have direct collaboration? Do you invite them into your labs, vice versa? Or?
Yeah, both actually. As I already mentioned, we start quite fundamentally with universities and knowledge institutes doing very basic research in the plant-light interaction on spectra, on light intensities, on day lengths, on the timing of the light. That all together, that's what we call a light recipe. When that gives promising results, then we are step by step scaling up to match with the light also all the other growth factors. Because if you grow a crop, it's not only the light what makes it. It's the whole picture of light, irrigation, nutrients, climate, and so on.
And they're very interdependent. It's not a linear relationship. So if you're changing one thing, then something else can be affected quite, and vice versa.
Yeah, and in the end, you can only check that if you scale up to, in the end, practical or semi-practical conditions, and that can be either at growers itself. Some growers, they really like to see it with their own eyes what they are potentially gonna buy, or that can be with trial stations, knowledge institutes. But yeah, scaling up, that's really the key element in the approach we take.
But then you stay with the customer after the sale, if you like, and support them over the life cycle. Mm-hmm. What does that look like, and what happens in that process?
Yeah, well, it depends a lot, because what we really see is that each grower is unique, and also the expectations they have from us differs a lot. And it also depends on what crop, what application we're talking about. Tomatoes, where we have a lot of knowledge about, and also the industry also has a lot of knowledge and experience in, that requires a different approach compared to a fairly new application or new crop what we are working in. And especially for the crops we have a lot of experience in already. We also see that we can really support growers with data-driven solutions, growth models, and take a more consultative role in that.
Understood. Let me now ask the audience in the office and at home to also send some questions in if you wish to. So we have lots of opportunity to challenge Signify here with whatever might be on your mind. And then I don't have to ask all the questions which I have here.
Well, Andrew, I think in addition to what Erik just mentioned on supporting growers, what you can see is most of the time we see the growers who starting growing with LED, they have to get used to it. And by having somebody next to them who cooperates with their crop advisor, they will challenge each other and get the best out of the first year growing with LED. And it helps a lot improving their business case.
Well, how does that LED advantage really help their business case? I mean, LED, okay, there's no question about that being, a tremendous leap forward. And your colleague Ellis in a previous session was saying, that's the future, at least for the foreseeable future. But how does it really contribute towards a business case? Is it a question of the quality? Is it a question of the sustainability, energy savings?
Well, I think there's a number of factors that will improve the business case compared to other lighting. First of all, we see that there's no restriction that much anymore in light levels. Well, because we separated heat and light from each other, so the crop can handle more light and the grower can give additional heat to the crop. And especially these plant specialists will help them achieving that. But it is not only the light levels that go up, and that light level surely will help generate more production, because that's where you have the extra light for. But you also can have extra lighting hours, because you can extend your growing season. And surely the operation cost is so far lower. So that helps in total the complete business case. And then we don't not even talk about the improved quality of the product.
Okay. And in terms of sustainability, obviously the energy savings is one aspect.
Yep.
And just getting more out of your capex and getting more out of what is there also means more efficient operations at the end of the day.
Yeah, the lifetime of a product is so much longer than a traditional light, and the operational costs are so much lower. So there's no maintenance of the product itself, so it's indeed a very sustainable solution.
Okay, Kai, how is it that you actually recognize, a good quality solution? If you were maybe to move to work for a grower and be their light specialist and say, okay, this is how I'm going to find out who's best.
I think there are a couple of things. We already touched upon the lifetime and the guarantee. I think what's important to understand there is that the claimed hours cannot be measured before product introduction. Because if you have a lifetime claim, let's say for 36,000 hours, and you switch on your lights 24 hours, 7 days a week, it takes you 4 years to arrive at that number. So what normally the manufacturers or the suppliers do is that they do shorter measurements and they do an extrapolation.
Yeah.
Within Signify, we apply international performance measurement standards to give us guidance. And they tell us that we have to burn our products for 6,000 to 10,000 hours. And then the statistics allow us to do a 6-time extrapolation. So that means further projections will exceed the statistical confidence levels. So that's not allowed. But if you have your products 10,000 hours burned times 6 for the extrapolation, basically lifetime claims beyond 60,000 hours should not be trusted in the market.
Understood.
I think that's an important
But even to
message.
get there, you still need 10 months or so of 24/7 operation.
Correct.
In order
Yeah.
to come to that
Yeah,
figure.
that's
So that's
correct.
a key criteria when you're looking at whether the claim is credible or not.
Exactly, and that's what we try to do to build this confidence, and we are willing to show that to the grower, so that the lifetime claims that we bring to the market, that they're based on something. And yeah.
Any other criteria? We have a question, if not.
Well, if it comes to the product quality, I think there are a couple of things important. I think what you should judge as a grower is the design choices that have been made, and that's really simple. Order a product and have a visual inspection. Just have a look how it is built. Does it feel robust? How do they deal with moisture and dust protection? Those are typical things that you can easily find. You could also figure out, is the product electrical safe? For the US, we have a UL compliance, and for Europe, you have a CE compliance. But CE is based on self-declaration. So the supplier declares that the product is safe, but nobody is checking that. So as Signify, we have an ENAC certification, and that means that the third party looks to our products and tells us that it complies to the criteria that belong to CE. And that's really important because we have seen examples in the market of which I know for sure that they will not pass the CE criteria. Another thing is that you can challenge the manufacturer or the supplier. Have the robustness of your product, have that been tested? As Signify, for example, we really put our products in extreme testing environments. So that means low temperatures, -50, and I'm bringing it up to +140. Vibration test, high humidity with a little bit of salt, voltage fluctuations. It's a 3 to 4 day program. So every product family, before we launch it, it will go through it. Sometimes they break, but then you learn what is the weakest component in your product. But if they pass, we know for sure that the product will last as long as we promise in the greenhouse.
A real stress test.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think this combination of things also can help the grower to figure out if a product is good and will it last the time that the supplier is promising.
Excellent. Let's go to our question from Jeff Holroyd. Jeff, thank you for this. A niche but an important market is the plant research environment. The complexities of the recipe here is very challenging as crops can be extremely varied. Can you comment on how to approach it best? Is that you, Erik?
Yes, that is. It is extremely varied. That's right. And I think that's why we take the scaling up approach, and it requires a lot of research. And what we also like to do is to not do anything on ourselves. We consider ourselves as lighting specialists, but in the end, it is the complete picture. Light and all the other growth factors would need to be optimized to come up with a good growing crop, as you as a grower like to. So it is a very specialized task, and requires a lot of time, a lot of testing, and also involving other experts like seed companies, crop consultants, technical suppliers, and so on to bring the expertise of different parties together.
But something that you could call within Signify's quite normal day-to-day routine, something which you're doing quite a lot of.
Within the Horti-led business of Signify, it is for sure daily routine. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and so you're able to offer that service as well to others in a similar situation.
Yeah. I think our colleague already commented today, Alice, who was in previous setting here today. I think she called we have established more than 140 different light recipes by our grow as control facilities here in Eindhoven.
Perfect. A very interesting question from Kenya Lawyer. Are you using AI to improve the recipe?
I pass that over to Erik.
Yeah. Well, I think as Signify, we are at this moment setting the first steps into that. I already mentioned that we are using growth models for our biggest applications, crops like cucumbers, tomatoes, lettuce, and we, especially over the past 2 to 3 years, we've definitely learned that we can do a lot with that and use that to increase the predictability of our solutions. Dennis already mentioned that with LED, you have the flexibility to steer light, heat, or actually your climate independently. And what we have to do, what our task is to use that and make the best use case out of that. And we do see that improving our growth models really increases that service.
Okay, so dabbling with the idea, not yet mainstream, but certainly something with potential for the future.
For sure, yes.
Excellent. Dennis, perhaps in summary, why should someone choose Signify?
Good question. I think we've improved track record, but especially we walk the complete journey with our customer. So from start till operation. So we take all the angles of the triangle with them, all the expertise. We've got, like Kai already explained, products that are critical to quality, and we give them the best and proven experts for growing the crop. And we do that together with our Horti-led partners. And I think that combination brings in total working light installation. That's the key what a grower wants. They don't want to have a module, but a working lighting solution.
That's a perfect word to conclude our session. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.